Hey everyone, welcome to my first live stream. I gotta tell you, I'm a little nervous. I'm not super techie, so everything that you see, the lighting, the audio, the way the camera's set up, the angles and everything, please share your opinions, your feedback with me. This is all up for debate. So if you have any opinions on how I can make it better, please let me know. That is my goal, to make these as good as possible. And I know there's going to be a bit of a learning curve, as with everything. Hopefully, this will be the worst one that I do. That's my goal. One of the things that I did a couple weeks ago was I sent out an email to my subscribers from my website asking for their feedback on what they wanted to see during these lives. And I got a lot of really awesome responses, and I was kind of blown away by them. But the overwhelming response was that you guys wanted to see me experiment with techniques and supplies and things that I've never done before or used before. So that's what I'm going to be doing in this live stream. We're going to be experimenting with paper clay. So I'm going to... Oh dear, I'm having all kinds of things happen at once here. All right. There we go. All right. So, I'm trying to see how I can get to the comments. But I'm just going to have to figure that out later, because what I thought was going to happen is not happening. So I apologize for that. I was hoping to be able to talk to you guys in real time, but I will go back through afterwards and look at the comments, and I will respond to everybody who has questions or comments about anything, whether it's the technology or it's the techniques we're doing. So feel free to just put anything you can in the comments. I love the feedback. So let's get started. So this is what we're going to be using. I've been taking a class online called Painting with Fire, and it is a fabulous class. If you're at all interested in learning more about encaustic technique, I highly recommend it. It's many, like over 20 different encaustic artists are the teachers there, and it's a new lesson every week for a year. So it's been wonderful to kind of give me additional inspiration and to help me learn new things and help me improve the stuff that I already know. It's just been really great. So this air dries, so when you always have to make sure that you cover it, and I'll finish that. But this stuff it's pretty cool, actually. It's very moist and malleable. So I'm just going to be doing a few different things to kind of add some texture and to flatten it out. You can sculpt really anything with this, but for my encaustic paintings, I'm just going to kind of roll it out, make it flat, and then add some texture, maybe some color. All right, so I've got a little piece and I've just kind of flattened it out. This is parchment paper, by the way, because I don't want it to stick to my table. So I'm using this as kind of a mat to work on. All right, so I have a ton of stamps, a lot of text stamps and things that I love to use, and these are one of my favorite things to use for any kind of texture that I add to my pieces. So I'm just gonna go with it. Oh, that actually worked pretty well. I did this before when I was doing some prep work for this live stream. And I didn't push it this far into the wax though. Oh, this far into the paper clay. But it's coming away really nicely, actually, and giving me some good indentation without sticking to my the stamp, which is awesome. All right, that's pretty cool. I'm gonna do one more just to kind of just to kind of overlap it a little bit, maybe like this, just to kind of see what that looks like. Yeah, that's kind of cool. All right, so this I'm just going to let dry here. I'm not sure quite how long it takes. It depends on how thick it is. In the class that I took, it was Lorraine Glessner. She's a fabulous encaustic artist. So if you have a chance to ever take a class from her or to look her up, I would encourage you to do so. She said that it usually takes a couple of hours, 2 to 3 hours or so for it to dry. So, you know what? I'm just going to roll this whole thing out. She also said as it dries, it kind of curls up, which with some of my prep work I noticed. I'm going to show you guys that in a little bit. It is kind of sticking to my wood rolling pin here a little bit. There might be a way to mitigate that. Maybe if I put a little oil on it. I don't know. Let's try that. I'm just going to use. I don't know. This might be really stupid, but I'm just going to try it just to see. Just a tiny. Oh, that was not a tiny bit. That's okay. All right, that's probably not going to work, but I don't know. It was worth a shot, I guess. Well, it's not worse, so that's good. Okay, so that's pretty thin. So I have some other things that I'm going to try. This is kind of a cool rolling stamp that I got from Stampin' Up. So yeah, and you can press pretty hard, and it's not really. I guess there was a little piece on the edge that kind of came off right there, but it's not too bad. All right, so that's kind of fun. Let's try one more thing here. I don't know what it is about text that I love so much, but it's just so fun. I'm going to put the lid back on this. All right. I'm going to flip this over because there's something else I want to try. You can see how it's kind of, the parchment paper is kind of given it its own little texture right there. Oil. All right, so I have these stencils. I have a lot of stencils because a lot of the supplies that I use are for scrapbooking, like not just encaustic. So I'm always looking for ways to use them in my encaustic work and scrapbooking supplies. So I'm gonna try this. A couple things. I have these stencil brushes. Let's try this. I have these stencil brushes that I'm just gonna try. This might be too small of a stencil. I don't know, but I'm gonna try it and see what happens. All right, so peel it back this way. All right, so that was kind of interesting. I don't know if I don't think you can see that at all. Let me see if I can raise this up. You can kind of see it a little bit. It's kind of cool. So yeah, that worked better than I actually thought that it would. So that's kind of fun. This is like an old-timey text, so it almost looks like a stone tablet or something that you would find in an archaeological dig. That's kind of interesting. All right, so I like that. I think this is backwards, actually. Yeah, I think it's supposed to go this way. All right, and I'm going to try one other thing here and see if this works. This is just some walnut ink that I have in a little spray bottle. So this might be this. There we go. Okay. All right, maybe it'll work better if I push it down a little bit like this. Okay, I'm not sure how much to do because obviously this is pretty light. It looks really dark in the bottle, but the spray is actually not very very brown. All right, let's kind of get some of the excess off before I peel it away. Oh yeah, yeah, I like that too. That is a little messier. I don't know if you can see, but there's a few spots where it kind of went under the stencil a little bit. But that's pretty cool. And that's actually, you can see a little from where I pushed it a little, and it kind of, so I'm going to try this actually one more time. Doing it upside down here. All right, I'm going to push it a little harder. So we maybe get a little more of an indentation. Maybe I'll roll it. See if I can get some even. All right, it's kind of starting to come through a little bit on some of the things. All right, and I'm going to try one more thing to add some color. I have these bottles of India ink. So I'm going to try kind of a darker brown, just with a, I don't have these in spray bottles, so I'm just going to use a dark brown with just a little brush here, and try to get just a little bit on it. I don't want it to get soaked and leak under the stencil, so I'm just gonna, let's see, just kind of, oh, that's a little too dry. Need to have a little bit of moisture on there. All right. Let's see. I'm not sure the best way to do this here. Okay, there we go. I can see it going into the. All right, so having a little bit extra moisture, I don't think will be a bad thing. It doesn't seem to be, I mean, I won't know for sure until I peel it away, but it doesn't seem to be leaking too much under the stencil. I think probably because we rolled it on a little bit there. That's a little too much though. All right. All right, so using up as much as I have on the piece here. Really trying to get it in there. It looks like, from my perspective here, that it's doing better in some areas than others. So, all right, let's peel that away. I'll wash off my brush here a little bit. Okay, just keep it wet. All right, let's see. Let's peel this back. All right, so I rolled it. I have to be really careful as I'm pulling it away because it's sticking into the stencil pretty good. but it's not too bad. All right. Yeah, that worked really well. Let me spray this with a little water. See if I can clean it off real quick before that ink dries. All right, so yeah, I really like that. Let me hold this up a little bit more for you guys. You can obviously see where I put the dark brown India ink, but then you can see the raised edges from where I kind of rolled the stencil into it. So that turned out really cool. Yeah, I think I'm gonna like that. And even the stencil part with the kind of grainy texture up here, you can still kind of see that a little bit. Yeah, that was a win. I really like that. I put a little too much ink right here. It kind of went under the stencil just a tiny bit, but not too bad. It almost has kind of a burned effect a little bit. So yeah. Let me try a cookie cutter. I have a bunch of cookie cutters, some stars, a diamond, and a bunch of squares. So I might do some of the squares here. I have some different sizes. Oh. Let's try a bigger one down here. So I think these will be really fun to collage with on an encaustic piece, or maybe even to, maybe not with these pieces, but something similar, kind of mount onto a piece and yeah, make it look like kind of an archaeological dig type of a thing. Might be kind of fun. Let's try the diamond just for a different effect here. And it'll be interesting too to see as they dry, like how the texture on both sides kind of works out, because there's still a little bit of text from the stamps that I used on the side, but also a little bit of texture from the parchment paper when I rolled the stencil onto this. So so we have this. We can roll it up because it's still moist. I'm kind of interested in what that ink is going to do to it. I don't know if, I mean, it's not a lot of ink, so it's not going to discolor it a whole lot, but it might be kind of interesting to see. There's one other thing I kind of was interested in trying with the paper clay before it dries. So I'm going to roll this piece out. I like to do handwritten things. Sometimes I'll use if you followed my channel for very long, you'll see some videos where I use like an old calligraphy pen to add writing and things to some of the wax paintings that I create. So I kind of wanted to see if that would work with the paper clay. Not with the calligraphy pen, but like with an awl maybe. Like a pointy, just like a pointy tip. Oh. All right, let's see. So this is just a clay tool that's got just a pointy end on it. So I'm just gonna try a few things and see if it works. It may pull the clay too much, but we'll see. Yeah, it is kind of pulling it like I thought it would. Some angles. Oh, this angle's actually not too bad. I don't know why I always do my name when I'm sketching things. All right, so it does pull up stuff around the center, or around the lines. From From above seems to be the best angle to kind of minimize that, though. Just doing some funky characters. Hey, Reagan. Sure, you want to go talk to your mom? Okay. Sorry about that. That's my niece. My sister is here watching my children while I do this. All right, so kind of interesting. I don't think this one's my favorite just because of the residue around the lines that you get. I definitely like the stencil and the stamps a lot better. But this is really, the sky's the limit with this. I mean, you could use all kinds of things to put texture in here. More stamps. I actually used, let me go ahead and show you guys some of the prep work that I did for this live. I'm going to go ahead and put this back in the plastic, back in here, and get as much air out of it as I can so it doesn't dry out. And in the class that I took, Lorraine said that once the package is open, you need to use it within a couple of weeks, at maybe a month at the most. But the great thing about this, I think, is that you can create all these cool pieces and let them dry, and then you could store them away for the future. You know, you can have things in mind, or you can just kind of create cool pieces and then see what you can put them with. Okay, so these are the pieces that I created that I like. I'm going to go ahead and set these aside so they can dry. And then I'm going to show you guys some of the pieces that I made a couple days ago because I didn't want to, I wanted to have some dry pieces since it takes a few hours for them to dry. So first off, I'll talk about this. So this is an 8x8 canvas board. I was interested to see what would happen if I tried to put the paper clay directly onto a wood substrate instead of texturizing it and then letting it dry first. And you can see it didn't really work. There are pieces where I kind of pushed the clay down with my fingers, and that's sticking pretty good. I can scratch it away. So I think it's possible to put some paper clay on the surface and let it dry there, but I rolled this piece out and I used aluminum foil to add this texture, and tried to add it to this in one big piece. And I even sanded the wood to try to give it a little more tooth for the clay to stick to, but it didn't work. It didn't stick well, and the paper clay, like, this is how it kind of curls as it dries. You can see it was completely flat against the board when I set it aside, but you know, as it dried, it curled away from the wood. So I mean, this is a very usable piece. I've been thinking about kind of ripping it into a few different pieces and doing like a little kind of mosaic collage onto one of the pieces. Or I've also kind of thought about maybe taking a small wood piece like this and kind of mounting this to the back of it with some wax, and then hanging it on the wall like this. So this is all that you see. Maybe mounting a few other paper clay pieces on here. I don't know. So there's a few things you could do with a piece like this. I think what I might end up doing is ripping it apart and doing like a little mosaic. But these are some of the pieces that I did in molds. So I have these molds that I got from Prima Marketing, which is another kind of scrapbooking mixed media company. And these molds are great. I even put wax, Encaustic medium, straight into these molds and use that in some of my pieces, and that actually works really well. It's really fun. I love steampunk gears and that kind of stuff. So I did it with the paper clay, and it worked perfectly in these little ones. You can see I've got these little they're like little drill heads or screw heads. And the paper clay worked really well for these small ones. The big ones, like this one, this one it was a little too big and thick because you can see how it kind of curled upwards because I put it in like this, and then you take it out. I took it out, and this part hadn't dried yet. So I had to let the pieces dry outside of the molds, and then as that top part dried, they kind of curled inwardly on themselves a little bit. So, not the end of the world, but and what I also did with some of these is I used my torch and I scorched them. And this was another thing I didn't want to do on the live because you need really, really good ventilation, and so I did these outside, and the fumes were pretty fragrant, I guess you could say. This is definitely something you need to do either with really, really good ventilation or outside, because the fumes are pretty intense. So, but it was fun. It's kind of a fun little thing to kind of highlight some of the edges on these little gears. This one was actually a stamp instead of a mold, but the rest of these are molds. And then this one I was experimenting with that stamp and doing the scorching effect on this. So it's pretty cool how it kind of highlights the stamp. I'm going to go ahead and in the next few minutes, just try to do one final thing where I try to do a collage on this wax. Oh, goodness, I'm sorry. I guess I'm running out of brain power here. I'm going to add a little wax to this and see what it takes to kind of collage some of these pieces onto the wax. So let's do just a few layers of clear here. Add a little bit on my brush. All right, so I need to let that cool just a little bit, and then I can add another layer. All right, I'm going to use my heat gun, so this will be a little loud, sorry. All right, let that cool for just a little bit so I don't wipe the wax away with my brush. I do that sometimes because I tend to work really fast, especially when I know I'm making a video. Because I don't like, lots of extra time. I'm going to go ahead and try and add one more layer. There we go. Okay. Okay. So while I let that cool a little bit, I'm going to start with the small ones. And I'm going to see if I can get, because they've got these little edges on them from when they were in the molds. So I'm going to try to get those off just a little bit. Maybe a little sandpaper. It's kind of tough on the small ones because they're hard for me to hold and work on at the same time. Okay, yeah, that's better. All right, so I'm going to use these. I'm going to use these tweezers to just kind of dip this piece in the wax and see how it works. I'm going to see if I can zoom in a little bit just so I'm a little closer to my table. And then it's a little fuzzy. What got worse? Oh my gosh. It usually does it automatically really well. Not right now. Okay, there we go. That's better. Sorry about that. Jeez. All right, so just kind of dipping it in the wax. Kind of letting it penetrate. I'm doing it a few different dips just to make sure it kind of really gets inside that paper clay and stick it down onto the surface. And I'll try to fuse it a little bit carefully, but all right, let's try dip this one too. Let's do this medium one. I lost it. All right, I'll do this one, and then that'll be it. And I'll let you guys go. This one's got a lot of tiny little holes in it, so I think it might take the wax a little bit longer to kind of penetrate into those little holes. It's like the air gets trapped in the wax and kind of prevents it from getting in there. I'm going to shake it a little bit. Trying to really get into those. All right, so I think this is fusing pretty well to the surface because it's pretty hot when I put it on here, and the wax underneath it is still kind of warm. But I'm going to hit it with my heat gun gently, just to make sure that it's really solid, and then I'm going to test it. Okay, I fused that. I fused that really good. Probably too hard. Push these down. Make sure they're down as far as they can be. All right, so we'll look on the sides here. They look pretty good. This larger one is kind of, I don't know if you can see that. It's a little bit curled up, just a little bit, but it's enough that it's kind of pulling a little bit away from the wax. So I might need a little extra around that if I want to hide that. But the rest of them seem to be, it seems like it's got a good fuse. That feels really solid, even though the wax is still pretty warm. But yeah, fun. Anyway, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'm sorry about the problems with the technology and stuff. I'll definitely figure out some better things for next time. I'll let you know when that is. Don't forget to leave your comments and suggestions in the comments. And thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate all the support that you give me and my channel. Don't forget to hit subscribe. Subscribe, if I pronounce it correctly. And I will see you next time. Thank you so much. Bye.